Welcome to Bunch Formation, a college football podcast. I am Chris Vanini, back home after visiting EA Sports. He is David Oven, back from a dance recital. We'll get into that. Thank you to everyone who has listened to the show and get it off the ground. Again, we're doing this independently of The Athletic. We've gotten a ton of feedback, especially on the last episode where I shared my experience playing college football 26. We know a lot of new listeners are here for the video game right now, and we are going to get into that. And we'll have an interview with the principal game designer, Ben Haumiller, as well. We're also going to talk about Michigan State's new AD and suggest which college football team a Scottish listener should adopt. Please send all notes, feedback, questions to bunchformationpod@gmail.com. And we're Bunch Formation on all the social media except for Twitter, which is Bunch Formation P, because that's all that was available. But first, David, you got some rave reviews. You got some rave reviews from the listeners on YouTube last time around, including one here. David is the guy we all played football with in high school that after we all graduated, he'd be like, I could have started if it weren't for my knee or my coach didn't like me, man. Could have won state if I was in there. So let's open with that. What do you think of the YouTube comments? They were not nice.
The YouTube commenters were not happy at me not caring about some things about the new video game. I do care about a lot of things. Online quarters I care about. Playbooks, I got some complaints, zone coverages, all that other stuff. Dynamic lighting, I'm sorry, I don't care. But people were fired up about it. So listen, as to that specific comment, there were a lot in that vein. I think it just revolves around me being in denial about my CFB26 skills, which I would say declined specifically because I have a full-time job and 2 children, and I'm much busier than I was in the last game came out. But maybe I just never was as good as I thought. Maybe I am just Uncle Rico out here. It's tough look. But you live and you learn.
For the record, David plays the game a lot more than me. He wishes he was there in EA Sports. He plays online more than I was able to get to during the season. We're both busy with football, but David is a big time fan of the game. He knows how to do all the matching coverages and all that type of stuff. Pre-snap,
baby. Everything looks the same, and it's not the same. You don't find that out till after I snap it.
He's on top of that. So I wanted to give you your bona fides, your bona fides for the people who are not happy about that. Before we get into the rest of the show, though, we wanted to read 2 5-star reviews we've gotten. If you give us a 5-star review on Apple or wherever, we will read it on the show and shout you out. And thank you for joining the bunch.
Hit us up on these reviews. They're very important for the algorithm and all that stuff. They help us a lot. Chris, what did we hear from our folks this week?
We got Dave from Chicagoland, called it a top-tier pod. Wrote, quote, been following Chris and Dave for a long time now. These guys have fantastic chemistry and do a great job of mixing legit analysis and laughing at the absurdity of the sport we all love. Feels like I'm hanging out with friends, talking ball. Looking forward to listening to the rest of the season with these two. End quote.
That's what we're going for. I like that. Appreciate
exactly
it, Dave.
What we're going for. Dave from Chicagoland. Thank you for joining the bunch. We also got one from Boback USC. Says, quote, David and Chris give good explanations and analysis of the big stories in a pleasant atmosphere that's free of silly hot takes, obnoxious attitudes, or needing to play a character to make up for a lack of personality. I'm glad they decided to continue their work independently, fixed a lot of hangups with Until Saturday. They have a good rapport, different views, solid discussion. Give it a go. Boback USC, thank you, and welcome to the bunch.
I feel like a lot of our YouTube commenters would disagree about obnoxious attitudes, but maybe that's just me.
Yes. So with that, we're going to open this show with some more video game discussion because we got a lot of reaction on that. And we're going to start off with the mailbag.
That's a clickbait question and lazy reporting. Next.
Dave, feel free to read some of these to me. We'll go back and forth on these. First one.
Yes.
At G12 Alton on Twitter, mascot mashup, question mark. As far as I know, no, we were not shown that.
I want it back. I want it back.
So it's something I've played on the old game. When I was preparing for CFB25, I went into that a lot and had fun with it. It's also a mode that, like, once you've done it, like, 1 or 2 games, you kind of don't go back to it. it's so I'm guessing that's part of the reason they just wanted to put attention elsewhere. It's more of a party trick type of thing.
Yeah. So my main issue with the mascot mashup games in the past, where if I recall correctly, everyone is a 99 everything.
Yes.
And that like kind of like I don't know, it's sort of fun, I guess. But I'd kind of like the teams to like reflect the teams that they represent. But I will say, if you are Otto the Orange and you truck the Cardinal Tree, there's few things in life that are more satisfying than that. The game mode they do need to add is where you are the mascots and you're playing against a team of 9-year-olds. That's what I want to play. But I do miss the mascot mashup. You're right, it is a little gimmicky, but like it is pretty fun and it is funny. And like, especially if you have little kids that are trying to play the game, or like, you know, I think it would do better if the mascot teams reflected the teams that they represented. That was one thing I didn't like about it. Like I said, was having 99 everything on everybody is kind of like, what are we doing here? So
yeah, it does feel like though mascot mode is really like prime for the shareable era. Like all the screenshots, all the clips, they're all so funny. When you go back and watch them, they're
especially now that you have the
so
turnover
fun.
props, like a mascot using a turnover prop. I mean, what's the Akron mascot's name? The kangaroo throwing the tire over his head would be incredible.
Yeah. So as far as I know, no, but again, I'm not giving away anything here. It's something we weren't shown. So unless it's different, and they didn't announce it.
I feel like if they had it, they would have said it.
Yeah, they announced pretty much everything that's going to be in the game. Now, some of us who were at the EA event got in a little bit of trouble for breaking some embargoes that were very unclear. So me and Andy Staples and Robbie Callan, but we're all good on that front. At Greg Capel asks, do they have fight songs on the menu screen instead of just drums? Missed that so much. I learned so many fight songs from that. So sort of. It will not be just the drum line anymore. They have, I want to say like a dozen or more real songs that are played by marching bands. So you will get a mix of things, but it's still the marching band mode. I didn't catch if there were fight songs or not. At least I didn't experience that. It's possible. I was a big fan of the fight song part as well. Learning fight songs that I didn't even know I knew. But the biggest part is it's not just the drum line anymore.
We got a question from Sugaroo asking, will the new CFP format be in and be done right? It should be noted, because all this stuff is changing and I think people are unclear. What he's referring to, I assume, is the straight seeding of 2025. I presume that'll be in the game. Chris, you would know better than I would. I don't know why it wouldn't be. Will straight seeding be in the game?
That is in the game, and they told us it took from within 4 hours of that becoming official, they had it fixed in the game.
That seems like it'd be pretty easy. The one thing they do need to fix, and I think it was being done right, is the playoffs got a little wonky last year. We got
it did.
There was a lot of UAB, Liberty, Memphis, NC State there was a lot of that I saw in the playoffs, and it's like, well, I mean, a little bit of parity, but like let's keep it within reason a little bit.
Yeah, there were like multiple G5s type of
stuff. Like a lot.
Which I do think that got, I do believe that got better as the upgrades came along throughout the year. That was something they recognized as well. So yeah, straight seeding CFP is in, but you can't change it. You can't go to a different kind of playoff. I think they should. I told them they should. I think they'd love to. I think the CFP doesn't want them to.
Yeah.
I think the CFP, whom they are licensing stuff from, want them to just have what the actual playoff is in that given year. Now, what is the playoff going to be in 2026 and beyond? Go listen to our last episode. We had a very long conversation about that. What the SEC, the Big Ten are pushing, what the Big 12 is trying to make happen. Is it 4-4-2-2 auto bids, or is it 5+11? We'll find out more maybe this week, but go back and listen to the last episode. We talked about that. Now, here's a question, Dave. You'll love it. Chris, from at JR's66. Chris, can you let us know if the light changes throughout the game, afternoon to dusk by the fourth quarter? The frozen lighting drove me nuts last year. A lot of people wondering if it's dynamic or static in 26.
Who are these people? Why?
You would be, dude. When I was writing this last year, I had so many people ask about editing the equipment of real players. That is not something I care about. It is something a lot of people care about. Everybody's got their thing. So I can't get to all of it, but yes, dynamic lighting. I think we talked about it last episode, but just to clarify, yes, there is dynamic lighting. It changes throughout the game. It's also tied to your location. Like if you're, depending on where you are in the time zone, it might get darker earlier in the day, which is really cool. I did play a game in the Rose Bowl Stadium to kind of get the sunset to go down. That happened. That is very cool. David, I don't think cares about that, but that is a nice little adjustment to the game where it will change. Like if you do a 3:30 Big Ten game in, November, it's going to really
be dark by the end.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's technology, man. What a time. We're living in the future. What can I say?
Now you got a follow up here.
Matt Dawson 84 asked about weather. I do. So I didn't play a lot of snow games this year. I guess because in my dynasty, like they don't have that on online. Obviously, people would get annoyed. But I guess I didn't think about it because I was playing with USF, and then I did Minnesota for a year. I think I had one snow game, and then I did Ole Miss. So I was a lot in the South. But dynamic weather, I think what we're talking about here is that it would change. Or like if you have a snow game, maybe it starts out kind of okay, and then by the end of the second quarter, it's very slippery. And then you go to halftime, and people kind of clear it off. You maybe see the lines a little bit better. And then fourth quarter, it's a mess again. Or like I think that's what we're talking about with dynamic weather. Anything on that?
I don't think so. Nothing I experienced. It did not come up in our conversation. I did play Madden as well, and I don't think I'm allowed to say it yet. The cover just got revealed on Monday, but the weather,
hurdle, yeah, I saw that.
The weather part of Madden is really cool, and to pull back things, like as part of this visit, we agreed to embargo on certain topics. Last year, it was like a week later, you could reveal everything that you played. This time, they're trying to do it staggered, but again, Andy and Robbie and I kind of messed it up and revealed some things we shouldn't have. But I didn't get paid to go down. They didn't pay for my lodging or anything. So like it's all done. It's about ethics and gaming journalism, frankly. And
I still want to make a visit. Ben says I have an open visit, or an open invitation, but I'm never in Orlando. I don't.
Yeah, it's tough. So no dynamic weather. Like I don't think it'll change throughout the game. But keep an eye on Madden. They did some cool things. Maybe it'll come to college football in the future. At Jimmy MC _, we need a PC edition. This came up a lot.
He's talking about the political correctness, correct?
Yeah. So why is college football only on Xbox and PlayStation and not PC computer? It's a few reasons. EA won't really say on the record, although I've asked them. The reasons are twofold. One, college football is mostly just the North American title. Not a big audience in Europe and Asia and stuff for college football, the way you have for Madden, the way you have for FIFA, obviously, or FC. And the vast majority, the largest amount of gamers in North America are doing it on console. So that is one reason. The return on
financial thing. Okay.
And two,
that's fine.
I know they've been worried about modding on PC, which is you can change the game on PC if you know what you're doing. And especially in the first year they're paying players using their NIL after the game went away for 11 years because of improper NIL. They really didn't want people to like mess with the real players. It's one reason you couldn't edit their attributes in various stuff as well. That appears to be the case again this year. It's not on PC. Will it be on the Switch 2? I'm doubtful based on conversations I had. Madden is going to be on Switch 2, but again, that's international type of game. Same type of thing.
Yeah.
It's a little bit different. Yeah.
I play a lot of FIFA. You see a lot of PC people on there. As far as like modding, I mean, that game is pretty hard to like quote unquote cheat on. It's a pretty pure online game. It's pretty pure skill. So I haven't seen a lot of issues there, but I do think the potential is there for chicanery. I'll get this one from Shuggy Shug 82. Why can't we choose the times and dates when we play? Like if I'm playing at 9 a.m., why can't we pick that time for online or offline play? My biggest question is why we can't use any playbook or online games against someone.
No, on the times. because, I mean, I don't know if any real sports games do that. You have the set times that college football games happen. That's when it is. The dynamic lighting is not like tied to what time of day you're playing. It's just based on what time it is in the game. It's not actually real. I don't have a problem with that. The online playbooks. This is a big one for you, Dave, because you developed your own playbook. You love using it with Kansas State and stuff like that. Would we play each other? But when you go on the road to CFP, you have to use the Kansas State.
Yeah, I use it in my dynasty a lot. It's very fun.
And I've asked about
the playbook has it got a lot of toys in there anyway.
And the reason I asked about this, and the explanation is the reason they came up with road to the CFP, they want players to use a lot of different teams. And it ties to the playbook as well. They didn't want everybody to play as Alabama and Miami last year. That's why there's the tiered system. That's why you can get more points for doing stuff with different teams. They want you to really feel like you're playing with that team. And it ties to the playbooks because they didn't want people to pick Alabama and choose Air Force's playbook and just kind of not cheat, but like not really play the way Alabama is. They want you to play online the way that team plays. That's why you can't pick another playbook. Most people don't like that. I don't love it. Dave doesn't love it. That's the reason. Because I have heard this a lot and I have asked them. And that impacts who I play with. Because I want to like the playbook of the team I'm choosing. And we're going to have another story on The Athletic later this week. You, me, and Antonio Morales, the teams we're most excited to play with in the game. And the playbook ties into that. And we may try to have Antonio on the show as well. Dave, what's your reaction to that?
I mean, you get used to it. I mean, you got to find a team. Like, I do think my experience online last year was when guys were playing with really, really good teams, they generally were not the best players that you would come across. Every now and then you would. But, like, it got to the point where if I'm booting up and I draw Alabama and I'm Kansas State, I was kind of licking my chops because I'm like, I'm going to know after the first quarter whether this guy can play or not. You figure that out pretty quick. And a lot of those guys aren't very good. It's when I would play and I would draw and somebody's playing with, like, I played one guy that was playing with Vanderbilt. I got cooked by him. Because these guys like just know what they're doing and have a bunch of stuff that they can do and are a problem. Like if a guy just out schemes me, I don't mind that. It's when you're like running cheese plays and stuff. That's when it's like infuriating. These are the people that I think should be thrown in prison and basically not allowed to be contributors to society. But like if a guy just has an answer for everything that you're throwing at him, offensively, defensively, like I don't mind losing that way if I'm going to lose that way. And if just everything I'm doing is working against a guy, it's very satisfying because there's a skill level ceiling that you can just kind of hit in terms of just like ability and all this stuff. And then at that point, it's a chess match. And that to me is what's fun about the game is the chess match aspect to it. And so when I don't have a playbook that I like, it's almost like, well, I'm going to play chess, but I don't have a bishop. I don't have any bishops and I have like one knight. So I have like a tool chest that I can pick from, but it's kind of incomplete versus like being able to do everything. Because that's my playbook that I like to use. I don't use a specific team. I create it because I can do a bunch of different stuff depending on what the other guy, is good at defending. I try to poke around and see what I'm good at. So anyway, I don't love it, but I sort of get the argument. I disagree with the argument, but I mean, it makes sense if you're trying to keep it as sort of a simulation game. Because you do run into some like fantasy aspects there. If you do have, Alabama running the triple option, but at the end of the day, it's a video game. Yes, it's a simulation game. They're trying to make it real, but I don't know. I don't love it. I hope they change that at some point.
But like the Vanderbilt example, that's something they want to happen. In total, aside from the quarters and the playbook, did you like Road to the CFP compared to the old online ranking?
So this was a discussion because when people were playing online, like, Ari was talking about it a lot because he put a lot of stock in his overall record. Your overall record does matter, but he was not familiar with it. As somebody who played FIFA a lot, I was very familiar with the format of like you have like individual 10-game seasons and you like build up. So when I saw it, I kind of knew that that's what is FIFA style. It's kind of what they were going for. A very big departure from the previous one where you had a total record and then you'd have like your gamer score. And then when you clicked like play now, they try to match up somebody with like a similar gamer score. And then as you won, you kind of started to climb. So instead of like one big score. It was like, that thing, and like winning national championships. That was kind of fun. But the problem that I ran into with Road to CFP that I hope they change too is when you got to the CFP, you couldn't change your team tiers. So like if somebody plays with K-State, that's a tier 3 team. Well, once I got to the playoff, I'm running into all tier 1 teams. And then it's very hard to win a playoff if you get onto like all-American mode or all-conference mode. Certainly Heisman mode, obviously, the highest level that you can play at online. That's a problem. Like, I don't know why they changed that. Like, because I got to the point where I'd get to the CFP and I'm like, well, I guess I got to like play with Bama or somebody else, because like if you can't compete on the lines of scrimmage, it's not a skill issue. It's just like my team can't block. And if you can't block, you can't run anything. So, it is what it is.
Yeah. And we didn't get to play it, obviously. So I don't know how that's going to play. They've told us some things that are going to look a little bit different and things they try to emphasize. We talked about in the last episode too, but I got more questions about it. 3-minute quarters sticking. That's not a reveal. It's the same as it was.
Yeah.
They felt that the feedback was positive from it. They wanted people to play more games, and they did. I actually haven't talked to Ari about it, but Ben was telling me that Ari was one of the. Obviously, Ari was angrily texting Ben about the 3-minute quarter.
He was angrily texting us when it was happening. I was like, I feel that. I feel it.
And came back around, and Ben said Ari liked it. So I guess we'll bring Ari on the show at some point. Don't worry.
I just think it's crazy. Like, so not to belabor the FIFA example, but FIFA, when you play online, I think it's like 7-minute halves. Why would a soccer game be longer than a football game? There's possessions and all kinds of stuff. Like soccer, to some degree, the length matters not that much. There's not really a lot of clock management happening in soccer. Football, that's a good chunk of the game. My problem was when you had the 3-minute quarters, it was the whole game, basically.
Yeah.
Like your first possession of each half, you kind of just play it as it lies. And then after that, then you got to start thinking clock, okay, I don't want to give him the ball back, or do I want to rush this? Do I want to play really aggressive and then maybe see if I can get the ball back, or score quickly, maximize possessions? Like, if you play a guy and he's better than you, then obviously it's like drain time. Like, we're going to run the ball.
Yeah.
We're going to break into the second level and go down like that. I don't like when that's the whole game. So,
yeah. Question from @Lorenzo_716. Will there be more commentators and sideline reporters? No, it's all the same. It's kind of weird that David Pollock is still a part of it when he's not.
Yeah, I got it last year because like David Pollock's like not working for anybody. So
yeah, so it's all the same people.
All that still in there. Might as well reuse it, I guess. But
yeah, I'm not sure how much they had to re-record or do new things. Obviously, Reese Davis and Chris Fowler had a lot of more play-by-play to do.
Yeah.
But when we played the games at EA2, I didn't have the headset on very much because it wasn't a good headset and it was very staticky, so I couldn't hear all the in-game music and all the commentary stuff. So I don't have a ton on that. I asked about sideline reporters. I think it'd be kind of cool. Just not something that's there yet.
Chris, I have a mailbag question for you.
Yeah.
My dream. When is my dream going to be coming true on this game?
What is your dream?
My fake tweets appearing on this game.
So we didn't get to play Dynasty mode, so I don't know if that's in there. They didn't say anything. Like last year, they told us like Bud Elliott's blue chip ratios in there. Nothing here about. I know that like 247 and On3 are trying to get into the recruiting part of it, which I get.
Yeah,
makes total sense for them.
That's a money thing for them. It's a pure vanity play on my part. If I see a fake tweet of mine in an NCAA football video game, I will die happy. That's it.
Yeah,
it's all downhill from there. That's the only thing I need, basically.
I know that is something a lot of people wanted more, was kind of a deeper Dynasty mode.
Yeah.
Like stuff like stats. They've added trophy room. So we didn't get to play Dynasty, so I don't know how deep. They just showed us a lot of screenshots and stuff like that. It is deeper. How deep? Not sure yet. But that is something that was in the old game, the ESPN magazines or the Sports Illustrated magazines.
Those were cool.
You and I want the Athletic in there. We know that recruiting companies want to be in there. So I don't know if that's in there. I'm guessing no, just to that point. Got a lot of questions about positions in Road to Glory. don't know how much I can say, but if you played it last year, you get the gist of what it is this year.
So
I'll just say
I think
that.
I missed this. So I've seen clips of people playing corner. I've seen receiver, obviously quarterback and running back. I don't think I realized that you were limited in the positions you could play in Road to
People
Glory.
want edge. People want edge rusher.
Okay. Nobody wants the right guard?
Apparently not. I think some people want to be like a punter too or whatever. But you have middle linebacker, you got DB, running back, quarterback, wide receiver. I do think Road to Glory is going to be a lot of fun. I'd love to play as an edge rusher.
That would be pretty fun, yeah.
So that is that. If you have more questions, please tweet them at us, at Chris Vanini, at David Ubben, at Bunch Formation P, or send them to bunchformationpod@gmail.com. We will get to some more stuff in future mailbag questions, but we'll continue to talk about the game as it continues, as it gets closer. I'll be doing a review at some point. We'll try to have Antonio on to talk about the teams we want to play with. But before we wrap this part up, I did talk with Ben Haumiller, the principal game designer, while I was in town at EA Sports. So let's get to that interview. All right, and we are now joined by Ben Haumiller of EA Sports. You joined us on the old show. You are now actually the first guest on Bunch Formation. So first off, Ben, welcome to the bunch. And to talk about this game, College Football 26, first off, the reaction to 25, the highest selling sports video game of all time, a number in which you guys do not like to actually confirm. But what was the reaction to that first game like and the success that it had?
Well, first off, I don't want to gloss right past that. Thank you so much. I'm honored to be the first guest. This is great. So welcome, and I'm happy to be here. But welcome to our house today for this. And yeah, the reaction to 25 was, fascinating to watch, right? I think we all knew kind of what we had. Somebody like myself, that's a true believer, always knew it was going to be a huge hit. But then it comes out, and the reaction is just more than we could ever anticipate. And, you see just the sale numbers continue to just, be ridiculous compared to what we had originally thought it was going to be. And, it's not just those sort of things. It's the metrics that we love, which are how long are people playing? How deep are people playing? How many people are playing 30 years of Dynasty when we were like, oh, they'll probably go like 10 or so. Like that's kind of traditional for those sort of modes. And everyone's like, no, we maxed this out already. Hey, why does this stop at level 50? I want to go a lot more than that. My coach has already built out. So like you saw all that fascination and we're like, cool, love it, great. Amazing. How do we keep this? How do we harness this? How do we build upon this going forward? Because this wasn't just a do it one time and then just let it go. This is an annual thing that we want to continue to build on. So that's what you saw when we talked about it today was, let's start with that 25 build that we did. Like we did a lot there, but there's still so much more to do. So add a lot of new things that you want to add in a lot of community requests because we listen just as much as we play. And also a lot of quality of life things because when you're playing this game for like 1,000 hours, like some people were, there's little things just start to irritate you to the point where you've got to just get those out of there or else people will just kind of just tune out because they're just like, I'm tired of having to go 3 menus deep just to look at a player card. Why can't I look at that player very easily? Okay, cool. Now wherever you're in a spreadsheet and you see a player, just hit a button, pull up their player card and take a look at them. So things like that really help make the game a lot easier and more approachable to play. But also too, like we're trying to satisfy our audience and we have a very hardcore college audience and we love that. One thing we saw that I don't think I was ready for was how much they wanted a challenge. So many times when we're making games, people are afraid to put someone in a difficult position. They want to just press a button and give them a reward. We wanted you to actually earn things, like earn your playing time in Road to Glory. Things like that to make it actually harder to play. And we weren't sure if fans were going to resonate with that. Oh, but they did. They're like, no, make it harder. Okay, cool. We can do that. Now we're not going to go complete sycophantic, but like we're going to have it where it's more challenging and more fun. So yeah, you're going to see a lot more coming in the future.
There were a couple of things missing from College Football 25 that were all pretty obvious to everybody. And you talked about them last year when we talked that we just couldn't get to it. Yeah. High School Road to Glory is one of those. Auto subs, formation subs and dynamic subs are in the game. A couple other things. What were, as you guys went into this game, what were the biggest things you guys wanted to attack and improve upon, the top couple things?
Yeah, you look at, speaking specifically about Dynasty, for example, like you look at where you ended and you're like, okay, cool, the transfer portal. That's a big part of college football these days. And the way we had things set up, over time, just you would start to have smaller and smaller number of players in the portal. We had to correct that and trying to find a new way of making sure that you keep that portal stocked all around. So we did a lot of things like adding deal breakers to every single player, making those deal breakers dynamic. Adding things like playing time. Snaps matter just as much as do they care about playing time as their deal breaker or not. Like all blue chip players and especially all quarterbacks are going to care about their playing time. So you're not going to be able to stockpile players maybe as much as you were this last year. So you kind of look at just those elements, right? What are the pieces that are missing? Also, too, what's changing? Just last week, the CFP comes out with their new format of getting rid of the first round buys for conference champions. Now the straight seeding. That's on us. We've got to have that. We have to have that. Ready to go.
And you guys had that. You said within 4 hours of the announcement, you would put it in the game already.
That was the amazing part to see how quickly we can jump on some things. And this was one that was, thankfully for us, really easy to do. But yeah, within the announcement going out, and we, obviously we followed along. We knew that there was a potential there, so we had already talked about how we would do it if we had to. Announcement comes out, and then one of our guys, Mark Price, one of the guys that's the mastermind behind the guts of Dynasty, says, "Oh yeah, I've got that ready to go." 4 hours later, he had it checked in, and we were just going through. So what you saw, what I showed today, was his first sim after doing it, and you can see, oh yeah, perfect, there it is. It all lines up exactly as we need it to, and it's in the game.
What were some of the other couple things you guys knew you couldn't quite get to in 25 that you have in 26?
Yeah, think about presentation, right? All the different mascots that we've added in this year, so many different traditions and pieces like that. Last year it was so much work to build one run out for each school to have that. And after time, you'd see that same run out over and over again. It was still great, but I've seen it. So now you have more variety of things you're going to do there to help keep that game fresh. Wear and tear was another one. Think on the gameplay side that we had a lot of success with of how it worked, but also too a lot of mystery of how it worked. And so now you can see a lot more about how wear and tear works. You have a lot of settings that you can impact how you want it to work for you. You have your season and career health meters now, so where you can see and monitor this player's progress throughout the year of their wear and tear. How injured are they? And then over the course of the season, that will regenerate. But if you drain that bar all the way down and go into the next year, their career health is going to take a hit, and they'll be more prone to injury. They'll be tired faster because of how much you're using them. And so, you can use things like formation subs. You can use things like auto subs. All those different pieces to help manipulate your roster to where you're spreading some playing time out there to help keep your guys fresh, but also give them the snaps they need to make them happy, and just kind of live in this whole college football world.
Last year when I came here, the first team I pulled up to play was Virginia Tech at home. Mm-hmm. And that's when I realized, Enter Sandman is not in this game.
Yes.
Enter Sandman is now in this game. It's in the trailer, which is great. How long is that process to get it? 'Cause I was talking to Christian earlier, like the idea of getting that in the game, how long and how much work did that take to get it? Metallica, by the way, pretty famously protective of their music and not wanting other people to use it.
I mean, Seven Nation Army, the same way. Jack White, very protective over his music. And so a lot of those, songs that are iconic for college football and specific teams, we didn't get in year one for a number of reasons, budget being a big one, but also, too, just, it was impossible to get some of these things. What a difference a year makes, though. The success that you have now, you're the belle of the ball. Everyone wants to come and be around with you. So yeah, it became a lot easier to have those conversations with certain groups to be able to even get into a ballpark where we can have something like the co-deal we did with Metallica, where you have the band being able to play the game, the song, picking the best band for everything. So a lot of work with that went into place to be able to get those things in. So you're going to see a lot more of authentic music in the game, not only for individual school things, but also too, go to any game during Saturday and the marching band at halftime, they're playing pop hits, things like that. They're playing modern current music. So we've got a lot of those added in as well, played by a marching band. So it feels very authentic. It's not just the menu music of just kind of PA, it's actually the band playing things. And that really helps fill that atmosphere and make it feel more like college football.
Christian had told me it was like back in 2012 they tried to get it before the NCAA even went away. So that's something I knew, because for people who don't know, Ben has worked on this game for 20 years. I mean, there was a gap, but you started in NCAA 05.
Yeah, that was the first title I worked on on the college game was NCAA 05. I've been here, this in June will be 25 years, so I'm an old man at this. But yeah, it was always for this game. That's why I got in the industry, was to work on this game. When the game went away, I've been building it in my head for 11 years, just waiting for it to come back. And obviously with a team full of people that are the same like-minded thing. So it's all of us getting together. And that's what I think you see when you talk to us, is that passion, because we're pent up. We want to get this stuff in the game. We only have so much time per year. But that's only because, it's the old Saturday Night Live thing, right? The show doesn't go on because it's ready. It goes on because it's 11:30 on Saturday night. So that's one of those things. We always have things we want to add. And so we're adding things in title updates, yes. But there's also next year bigger plans going forward. And this is a multi-year thing. We're just getting started, and we're building on that foundation.
Last question. Defensive gameplay was a big improvement here. David Ubben, the co-host, he's going to love that. He's a big pre-snap, do a lot of stuff guy. But you guys have added so much to what you can do playing the game defensively. One of my takeaways from 25 was it was impossible to play defense. It was really hard unless you really know what you're doing. How much of a focus was that with the different things you can do now on defense?
Yeah, when you look at the game holistically and everything, you realize what you're doing great at and where you have things that you want to make better. And I think, we leaned into the wide open gameplay of college. And we maybe leaned in a little too hard because, there were times where it's like, wow, I can't believe I got to stop there. You feel great because you happen to get a stop. And that should be a little more commonplace, right? You shouldn't always feel like I've got the best defense. Why am I hanging on by a thread? So, we've added a lot of pieces to the defensive side of the ball to really help you do more things. Specifically, if you play defensive line, that's kind of something that a lot of people, are more hardcore players are like, well, if I'm not a linebacker or a defensive back, then I'm not really playing defense. They like that challenge. But a lot of people like to play defensive line and maybe switch off to a defensive back, but they want to start right up front. And so we added things like stunts and twists and stuff like that to really help there, and also defensive, steering, where you can kind of steer your blocker and try and get into a better spot to be able to make a tackle. So you've seen a lot of changes happening to really make gameplay more improved. Now, I'm not going to say that it is lights out 9 to 6 every game. It's still college football. We still want to lean into that wide open feeling, but you're going to feel a little bit more comfortable playing defense to be able to get some stops.
Ben, thanks for joining the bunch. Thanks for inviting us out here, and looking forward to playing the game.
Always a pleasure. Yeah, thanks.